trying to show and prove the connectivity of art to man and society. That's my main mission too as well, to show each individual why it's so that
Mm-hmm.
you have to create. And we talk about individuals every now and then that
Mm-hmm.
participate in that, that you would go to a major museum to go look at their work, and they've been dead almost 100 years now, and you're still trying to study their work. You really
Yeah.
have to look at that and say, why? They're dead
Right.
100 years, and I still go to the museum and look at their work like it was done last week.
Mm-hmm.
And then some of us even go so far as to say, wow, I don't think I can do that.
Mm. Yeah.
You really look at that. If you really look at that, that really will tell you why um, I believe in line, shape, form, likeness, circles. Why
Mm-hmm.
I believe each and every one of you out there, Nadine, Suan included, we all are artists. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Whether we
Mm-hmm.
like it or not, that's just the fact. You know what I
Right.
mean? Yeah, Umberto Bocciani. That's another
Mm.
name that comes. He dealt with
Okay.
the bills and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Teresa Trek was with them too as well. He dealt with a lot of the idea of doing that type of stuff. You
Mm-hmm.
know, who was it? Lega or Liga. He would study death. You know, the dying of Giuseppe Mazzini, I think it is. I'm just going
Mm-hmm.
off my head what I remember. And
Mm-hmm.
a guy named Marinetta. Yeah, Marinetti.
Marinetti.
Yeah, he's part of that whole idea of what Mondiglione was part of as far as the futurist idea is concerned. Because
Mm-hmm.
Mondiglione, I think he messed with the cubist idea too as well. Because you have a lot of artists that went back and forth with,
Okay.
you know what I mean? And that's why it became a big old argument. They had
Mm.
so, you know what I mean? Carter, Orsulo, Bacciani, these are some of the names that come up. Bala, and most of all their stuff was about another thing called, oh yeah, another thing I like talking about, which is dynamism or dynamism,
Mm-hmm.
you know, looking at the energy of things, looking at how things move in space and how to
Mm.
replicate the idea of movement of succession of colors, how sound moves and how the electromagnetic, realm is. These are the guys that started, doing works based on that.
Mm.
Still right around the time of the impressionists and stuff too as well. See, a lot
Mm.
of people don't look at that. All these movements was at some point was going on at the same time,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
but then they started to talk to one another because they was dealing with the same idea on how to express life. What's the idea of having a divided touch and why is that important? What can you do with that? Well, you
Mm.
see all those pieces that got the sketchy work going on and then in the single stroke stuff, you see how much
Mm-hmm.
done in that style or that manner from province to province, over here to America, back over there to Europe and Spain,
Mm-hmm.
everywhere people were using it. So it had to have been viable for a reason, right?
Yeah.
That's how it becomes, the big thing, the big bang. Yeah, there's other reasons why a lot of this information becomes important. Because for us as
Mm-hmm.
Westerners, we didn't really get into the futurists because our controllers here didn't want us. Edgar Hoover, I think it was, he had his blacklist, and that was some of the books and things and movements that didn't make it into our society at that time until around about the 80s, might as well say, when things started to loosen up, and then now you can, get certain books and certain information
Mm-hmm.
publicly, you know what I mean, at the library and at a bookstore. Yeah, yeah. People
Mm-hmm.
don't really understand how deep that was about how we receive information. Because when that's something from nothing too, because then we can't say something for nothing in some categories, right?
Right.
Because we're controlled on certain levels. So we're believing it's from nothing, but then wait a minute, somebody knows the something and then manipulates that until we're able to figure it out too as well from that standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a beautiful thing. I know it sounds like I'm rambling, everybody, but it's a beautiful thing though, and it's just that cumbersome of a thing because everywhere you go, you have to run into these basic ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And it's formed about pulling it from something. The something is something from around you, but the nothing is really you. You really want to get down with it, you know. So talking about the future is talking about the cube, is talking about those artists of the European Isle. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's important. Yeah, because a lot of them dealt with the things that we're talking about now, and that goes even into Kandinsky.
Mm.
You know, because you can see that Kandinsky is in the same mix of what they were talking about. You know, Diamond down in space, that's Champ, right? With the walking down the stairs, right?
Yeah.
A lot of other people use that as Americans, right? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you look around, a lot of the Spaniards used it, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot of names, but if you look at the work, everybody, you get a chance just to put in that and then put in Monte Leone, you really get an understanding of what people were thinking about for us in this future state that we're in. Because this is
Mm.
what guys were talking about. You know, they were talking about how we would deal with art based upon what they were investigating at that point and saying how their thoughts will permeate society for years on and constantly
Mm.
go through
Mm-hmm.
to whereas basically the manifesto won't even have to be used and just be a part of society. And if you
Mm-hmm.
look around, it has most of those thoughts that those gentlemen and females were, you know, dealing with as far as sculpting is concerned. Like they took it
Mm-hmm.
through every modality, just like
Mm-hmm.
Picasso was doing. That's why Picasso was doing that, taking cubism through each and every realm of society to be able to prove that it has a strong existence. You know, it's a strong theorem. It's something that's everlasting.
Mm-hmm.
But the only downfall was he never gave, you know, his sources were, you know, the African sculptings and African sculptings and fetish symbols and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then all of them, from even the guys I just mentioned, you got to remember, you know, North Africa is right there. So they
Right.
would go over and do the study. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? That's what people don't understand too. Everybody would, you know, pretty much commingle over knowledge and information,
Mm-hmm.
history. So we would go different places because there was an allegiance based upon that alone. Spirituality and science all intertwined. You know what I mean? And that's what you would
Mm-hmm.
go areas to do. Not like how we do now, just straight tourism. We just go to pilfer, archery, and eat and be sloths. You know what I mean? And enjoy ourselves. Think we de-escalating off of something. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's the worst. That's our idea of, you know, going on these adventures. Not a lot of people go inland and go try to study and connect and do things like that when you're out, you know, supposedly vacation. And that's really what you're supposed to be doing, not
Mm-hmm.
just, you know, de-escalate. I had a debate with that with friends.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, because they fly in and out all the time, but they just want some more tourist thing. Oh, going to the Caribbean. Yeah, but you don't know nobody down there but the people that work in the hotels.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't go away from the hotel. You don't go inland and go get the good stuff. You know what I mean? The good stuff is inland.
Right.
You know? And then you don't want to learn about whatever, you know, that you know, debating about all the time. A lot of people like to debate things, but you go to those areas, why don't you research those areas when you get there and see if there's information there, you know,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the Caribbean, but people just want to go convalesce.
Yeah.
I'm tired, you know, I want to get away. I don't want to see a building no more. You go to another building. But that's another conversation, all it is. But something from nothing and understand the whole idea of, you know, using the forces that's around you. You know,
Mm-hmm.
That's me. Swan was on. You guys want to talk about how you know, do what advertise, they did all that good stuff. On they did this thing.
Yeah, Sue, what attracted you to this book that about our conversation today, that has been focusing on stuff that is about the things that Don has been taking us on a journey
I'll tell you,
with.
but you won't believe me.
Try me.
I did a painting one time and it had a certain face and it looked like if Modigliani has a certain face shape that he usually he did, and this shape reminded me of a Modigliani face that I drew. So I decided to look into it at one point, and I had a book. And a couple of days ago, I decided, why don't you read, Sue Ann, a book, because you are interested in Modigliani. So I just picked it up and started reading it. That's what happened.
Wow. So maybe your hand was being taken over by the spirit of him, and that brought you to the face and then brought you to the book
Yes.
that you already had.
Yeah.
Now that's deep.
Yeah.
Well,
and I like him. He's really handsome. You should have seen him.
Oh, really?
He didn't live long. He got TB and died young.
Wow.
But he was a handsome guy. That's why another reason why I liked him.
Cool.
If I must say. Yeah.
He's a very
charismatic individual.
Okay.
That's it.
Well, that's
and then I started reading about him and seeing that we're talking about, like Dawn said, futurism and symbolism, and some of his paintings are amazing. This book has paintings and it's a great book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the whole thing about the book, though, is trying to understand why those faces were the way they were. And when you look into it, they start talking about a term called dynamism. Did you run into that yet in his book?
What did you say? Dynamism? Dynamism? No.
Dynamism. D-I-B-Y-N-A-M-I-S-M.
I know what you mean, but I didn't run into it, no.
Yeah, you should run into that soon in that book. Because, him and Umberto Bocciani was, how would you say, in the same arena. This is the early 1900s, late 1800s, early 1900s, we're really talking, right? Or no?
Yes.
Super cool.
Started to use mixed media and stuff like that. But mainly off of studying the cultures that they were going to convalesce in. I brought up all of that earlier. So they would go out to North Africa and they would go hang out and do what we call vacationing. But not only were they vacationing, they were excavating. They were, how would you say, looking, you know what I mean? Searching, finding, going to the best places for the best colors to see naturally by eye. That's why these areas are still important to this day. Because this is where these artists will go. To do more of this type of study, to understand the movement of time, movement of things in space, the using of plaster and different things like this. Instead of using, these are the guys that started to use certain materials that weren't normally used.
Nice. Boobs on the screen.
Yep.
She's showing the book.
Yeah. Walk over and get the futurist books so you guys can see it. You know what I mean?
Awesome.
I've gotten these books from going to the opening. I believe they had a show in Philly, and they had another show in DC. And I went down and I brought the book.
Nice.
So that's why my book is almost falling apart, because I was tearing it apart, reading all the
Mm-hmm.
information that I could get from it and trying to see
Don's the
how.
reason. Don is the reason why I read books.
Wow.
Yep.
Look what you've done, Don.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm supposed to do. Just give the idea and then you run with it. You go back to it. Most of us know you're supposed to do that. It's just that we don't have nobody to nudge us to go that way. So I
Mm-hmm.
decided to be that type of guy to nudge people that way. I already know it. To get to where Sue Ann is as far as degrees are concerned, stuff, she had to read, but then now she's shifting the focus in reading. That's all it is. And I
Mm-hmm.
think for that, man, thanks a lot. But you're really just shifting the focus of your intent now.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're just doing all what we talked about. Hey, go check them out and read them too.
Yes.
Guaranteed you're going into something. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? You're always
Mm-hmm.
gonna. It's never that you're not gonna run into something. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
You might run into something and be like, wow, I was thinking that all along. You know what I mean? So that's what they
Mm-hmm.
back then. The late 1800s is what I was thinking about. Wow. It may make you look at yourself differently as far as your observations,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Wow. That's something.
Yes, you look at Bacciani, you know what I mean? His work is amazing because it deals with movement. And then you can see how they influenced certain American artists at that time, like de Kooning. If you
Mm-hmm.
look at Kooning's work of Marilyn Monroe, you can
Mm-hmm.
see he was influenced by these gentlemen too as well. But he's
Mm-hmm.
coming up as a young man during this period now, these early 1900s we're talking about.
Okay.
When we're talking about de Kooning, I like trying to show that too as well. Like, no, these things didn't happen separately and by themselves. It's
Mm-hmm.
circular. They were all intertwined and they came in and out of each other. And some would
Mm-hmm.
come out and get the light of day, and some would just fall and just be like a local phenomenon idea.
Right.
Doesn't mean that they were important or valid. It's just that they didn't make the impact to go international at that time. After they passed, their information wound up being addressed. Why? Because when you research, you want to research the totality of what was around. You know, it wasn't just those individuals around.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how you get to a George's Brock, you know what I mean, and everybody else, because they were offshoots off of a main person, or investigate that main person like Picasso, and then trace him all the way back to his first paintings and thoughts, and see who he was around and who did he admire,
Mm-hmm.
and on and so on and so forth. And that's why we go back to Rubens. That's why we go back to Titian, because it was certain things that was borrowed at different times.
Mm-hmm.
You go back on that standpoint like that, to borrow, to enhance your something from nothing.
Mm.
You know, there's nothing wrong with borrowing. You know what I mean? The only problem is when you appropriate and you don't give reference to what you looked at.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I only brought up the futurist when she brought up Mondiglione and all that, because that whole era comes up with that battle right there. It was the battle of, what is existentialism, and what is a source. You know what I mean? What the
Mm-hmm.
source, it doesn't just come from anywhere, like I'll be saying all the time. Nothing don't come from nowhere. It comes from something. You know what I
It's got to
mean?
come from something. Yeah.
Even when you see the color field painters painting, when we
Mm-hmm.
talk about them, you know what I mean? Those colors that they put together didn't come from nowhere. That's why you see a lot of them started to bend toward the observation of nature, of the light of
Mm-hmm.
the everyday, luminosity of the everyday.
Mm-hmm.
That's why when you see those flat color paintings, a lot of times they make you feel like you're feeling the sunlight, because it's
Hmm.
smudgy, it is blurring of a color, scratching through to give you the ambiance of what a flat color can be or mean. And
Mm-hmm.
the interpretation is looking at the sky. and
Mm.
all the directions that it goes to. And you can pull from it abstractly or literally,
Right.
or essentially or literally. That's why, there's something from nothing is fun, because it's
Mm-hmm.
just people how to just use, what it is we've been talking about just for yourself, just to look at your surroundings, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like, is there an area in your house that has a whole bunch of stuff in it, just in it, up and around it, everybody? Then you
Yeah.
corner, look at that corner of that space and use a viewfinder idea to bracket off an area, make a little viewfinder, or use
Mm-hmm.
your camera or your tablet phone, your
Mm-hmm.
tablet camera, and take
Right.
pictures of areas that are heavily condensed in your house. A lot of stuff there, overlap, thrown together.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has a spot like that in house.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I
So,
got some I don't want to look at.
man, I got it all over my studio space. Around. Y'all be like, dang, Don, how you walk around? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How do you even entertain students in there? But
Mm-hmm.
if you ask everybody, they'll say, I don't know how he does it, but everything is rolled out of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything in my studio is on wheels, everybody, so I can roll it out of the way and get space and opportunity.
Rocking it.
Yeah, I just keep on knocking on wood and doing what I'm supposed to do to make sure I keep a studio like this, or when I transition, get something with hardwood floors next, and
Mm-hmm.
probably live and work at that point.
There you go.
Yeah, so I could do my Mr. Rogers type of thing with you guys. Have a special
It's
sweater.
beautiful. Yeah, put
Yeah,
on the sweater. Sometimes I wear a sweater. I know what you're talking about. You
keep.
start going back to your childhood. I got my sweater on.
I've always wanted to use that though. I thought that was cool when Mr. Rogers came on, man. He came
Yeah.
on, but you
Put
be
his
mine.
shoes on, change his shoes.
He's pimp, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You couldn't tell me. I was like,
Yeah.
damn, ooh, like he's got a job where he can just come in like that, start
Mm-hmm.
putting on shoes and sweaters when he's there, like chilling. Like, oh my God. Yeah, I was
Mm-hmm.
silly like that, everybody, but I just thought it was cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he had Lawrence Fishburne on there, the cowboy dude, man. And then because he came on there once off of the Sesame Street thing.
Mm-hmm.
Cowboy Bill, I think it is, that Lawrence Fishburne used to be in that arena
Okay.
when he was doing the children's work at all it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a couple of others, but I like the choo-choo train that he would have that would go into the past or the future.
Mm-hmm. That was super cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Then he had a
Yeah.
breakdance episode. Remember that episode? He was talking about the gritty streets, you know what I mean? And the urban environment. And he had a kid come on that I think he was saying was his neighbor. I love that
Mm-hmm.
episode. That's the first time everybody was introduced to the backspin. You know what I mean?
So much
Yeah,
was going on.
yeah. I bring all that up just to say how things are intertwined and they work together. You
Mm-hmm.
know, one comes out of the other, and
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing. And then if you're able to look into the idea of dynamism, which means that it's like a real comes out of an idea of a real diced up space, a space that has a lot of things going on, overlaps, and
Mm-hmm.
excavation, building and destroying, adding and subtracting, all on
Mm-hmm.
one. It's called dynamism. You're showing the dynamism of movement of a ball rolling or a hand
Mm-hmm.
moving. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? That gesture to get emotional value. Duh. Or
Mm-hmm.
you just doodling like how I something from nothing is. You just doodling to get things to go down, and you watch, and you're in a doctor's office, and maybe somebody moved real funny, and it just
Mm-hmm.
was so funny to you that you remembered the movement,
Mm-hmm.
and then now you just draw a symbolic movement of that movement.
Mm-hmm.
Not really the person, like how I did with Mr. Tony Todd there that you're seeing on the screen, everybody, but like a
Mm-hmm.
gestural interpretation of that expression, of that movement. It's another
Mm-hmm.
way of It's another way of breaking down the information that you're garnering from around you.
Mm-hmm.
You see, that's why a lot of people like to talk about the recreational aspect. Because when you start talking like where I'm going, then this is where you get into certain arguments. Like Friday, I got in an argument with a young man. God bless him. You know what I mean? But he's okay. You know what I mean? After I finish. But they start getting into things like, well, that's your thought, and that's how you see the world, and you know what I mean? And you be like, wait a minute, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to give you suggestions that will help you in your observations. I'm not saying it's absolute. Most of all of it is still pretty much theory based, but you
Mm-hmm.
can't get past what an edge is. This whole thing with the battle that I give people over what's an edge and what's a line. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's what that was all about. But yeah, how do you deal with these things and break down when you see a page like that, or somebody make an expression, or a hand movement, or a gesture? You know what I mean? Like how who's that? Marcel Duchamp or who?
Mm-hmm.
No, the other guy that did the screen,
Oh.
an expressionist piece, the
Mm-hmm.
screen.
Oh,
Uh,
don't get old.
I forget his name, but a symbolic gesture like that, where you're showing somebody screaming from some type of bomb blowing off or something like this,
Mm-hmm.
but you're not showing
Munch.
exactly. Yeah, yep, Edward Munch. Yeah,
Yeah.
Edward Munch. Yep, there you go. Yep. So if you look at his
Mm-hmm.
talking about what we're talking about, because he had to have seen that horrific situation of somebody, and if you read his book, he tells what he saw when he did that, why he did that piece, and
Mm-hmm.
he make you look at war differently. But anyway, it's how you extrapolate from that experience. So he
Mm-hmm.
made it a symbolic screen, something that was so simplified that it impacted everybody that looks at the piece.
Wow.
Wouldn't you say? The hands stretching, the face, and that's not the only one he did. Now he did way
Mm-hmm.
more than that. Get into reading into him, you'll see that
Mm-hmm.
he did more than just that one. He did a couple of different versions. He had a couple of different pieces that were going on that let you know that he had a journey that he went on to find those colors, those color combinations, to see them at work, to be able to utilize.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that's showing German expressionism. That's everything that was to showing the, how would you say, the happenings or the reactions to Nazism.
Mm-hmm.
That's mainly why you get German expressionism. You know, a lot of people like to look at that either, but
Mm-hmm.
that's that's what it is. So through turmoil, we find something. You
Yes,
know,
we do.
yeah.
Here you go.
Mhm. Yeah, when you look at a symbolic piece like that, look how simplified it is.
Yeah.
It gives you that feeling of something horrific happened. You know, you want to have fun, show younger people this. Anybody that's under 30,
Mm-hmm.
and see what their reactions is to it. And then you may see, you know what I mean. Some of them may say alien. Why
Mm-hmm.
is there an alien running through the middle of the page? That's what I had a little kid tell me one day. I was like, wow, you see an alien? But you have to
Mm-hmm.
think about that. What era is this young man growing up in?
Yeah.
That's why I like looking at things like that. You know what I mean? I mean, yeah, is there a university that might be looking into the emotional value of a stroke and what it is? But I don't have the time to go through all that. I want to study it myself and go into it, look into it, and look at all that beautiful work based upon that type of idea, dynamism, movement, movement of the things around you, how you simplify it, how do you utilize it, all the way down to color.
Mm-hmm.
How do you
Well, now,
simplify that
yeah.
to give an interpretation that's going to impact all other human beings? Because isn't that the mission too? You want to do a piece
Yeah.
that everyone comes to and they get it.
Right.
Whatever it is, just like something from nothing, whatever it is, you want them to get it.
Right.
That means that if I'm doing this Tony Todd right here that everybody's seeing, once I'm
Uh-huh.
done with it, I want everybody to be able to look at it and say Candyman.
Right. Well, as soon as I'm stuck in the screen, the shared screen.
That's an
Sorry,
amazing
y'all.
picture, but I don't like it.
Yeah. That's called the sun.
Mm-hmm. By Edward Munch,
Yeah.
too.
Now
That's
yeah, I'm gonna try to get out of this screen share. Um Not working too well here. Let me see. There. Let's see if that goes back.
just up. It's like, check that out, everybody. Like how
Mm-hmm.
he was able to depict and simplify a scene of the sun, I believe, rising.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And look at how the light is shimmering. Look at how he has the white light shimmering
Wow.
throughout the entire piece.
Mm-hmm.
So then is that absolutely what's happening? Or is that how the light was affecting his sight? And most of our
Mm-hmm.
sight in that way. To whereas if you're looking at sunlight like that, you see that white light permeating over everything, dominating to the
Right.
point your hand up over your face, you know?
Yeah.
When you see these pieces in person, that's what the artist's intent was too as well.
Mm-hmm.
Not that's why you do them in the larger sizes. They do
Mm-hmm.
them in larger grandiose sizes as they call them, because I want you to feel that phenomenon. I want you
Check
to
it.
feel that the sun is right there in the room with you from my hand, from my eyes. Yeah.
This one's crazy too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a talented artist. That's why I say that too to bring him up because he wasn't only stuck in symbolism. I mean, he started off trying to be a realist artist too, as well, like most artists do. We all start off trying to be realists.
Mm-hmm.
Then something happens, somebody says something, or something occurs and gives you attention, or the attention you get is negative, or what we call negative. What are you doing? That's not a building. And then you stop,
Mm-hmm.
or you don't do it for a long while, or whatever it be. But when you look at artists like Edward Munch and the other artists of that period, which started to go into the idea of dynamism and all of that, this is where you see it. The observations of what's around you every day. You know? That's why they have certain artists like Gainsborough and people like that, because they would be painting the everyday,
Mm-hmm.
for that time period. That's why one of the reasons for artists, everybody is to represent their given time period, time, space, and place reference from when they were on the planet. You know what I mean? So that you give others another interpretation on what was going on and how this time period was perceived. You know what I mean? Think about it. The
Mm-hmm.
50s is not here no more. So what do we go back to do? We go back and look at the artists, right? The
Mm-hmm.
entertainers, political types, the writers, the poets, and we try to surmise what the mind state was back at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So then when 2090 comes in, what are they going to use to look back on 2010 as a
Wow.
reference?
I
You
don't
see how,
know. Yeah.
yeah, that's how you got to think about it. Now, when you think about that, and this is how I thought coming out of art school, it's like, man, I got a lot of work to do, but then who's going to pay me for the work? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of work to do because there's a lot of things happening every day.
Mm-hmm.
Being honest, I'll pull paintings out and put them in frames and put them in shows. And I did the painting and try to put it in a show 10 years ago, and then now it can get into a show.
Mm-hmm. It's the same painting.
It's the same painting,
Painting.
same
It just
content. but the area and everything around you starts to amalgamate and change. And then now either you met it or it met you. However which way you're looking at it, you're still painting about the era and time frame that you're in. Because when they come back to look at it again, they're going to look through all the digital stuff that was going on 2010. And if I'm still here, somebody's going to ask you, hey, what was you doing? You know what I mean? And they go, well, wait a minute, let's just bring it up. You know, oh, wow, look, we see that you was struggling doing, you know what I'm saying? You had Instagram since 2002. Wow. How do you feel? You know what I mean?
Yep.
Come on. So you got to look at that. So then, you know, what are we doing to look back on Mondiglione? The snatch from him is the same thing that we all do. We look back to bring forward. It's always going to be. So our job is to perform within our time period and relay it as best we can, how we're perceiving it, and then place it in those right places where it can permeate. So then it becomes a staple in society. Hopefully before you leave, but sometimes not.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's the reality. Think about it. All the creations that we just did for the past 2 years, they'll outlive us. That's the reality. That's why I'm such a stickler, especially on this internet thing, because everything you say is recorded.
Yep.
So then that means that when senility kicks in on me, you know what I mean? I can't use that as an excuse. I don't remember. Well, hold on a second, Mr. Stevens. You know what I mean?
Play it again, Sam.
There you go. Play it back, Sam. You know what I mean? It seems as if Mr. Stevens, you were part of. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Right.
So everything that everybody does is going to be on not even microfiche no more. It's just going to be there. But nonetheless, the idea is, how do you extrapolate from around you? How do you simplify? How do you bring some of those thoughts together? One of them earlier was one of the ones I was saying, take a picture or use a viewfinder or use your hands like this to bracket off a scene in your room or something. See how I'm bracketing off the bottom there? Yeah, like how the bottom down here is moving. So now if you look at like a Mondrian, and now look at that bottom part, not from here up, from here down, you know, from the bottom of my hand. And look at those strong verticals and horizontals. And then you check out some of Mondrian's work, and then you tell me what he possibly was looking at to be able to understand how to do those overlaps, those strong verticals and horizontals we know him for in those large pieces. That's why I say I started to see it like, wait a minute, you know, it happened at Tyler. I'm not going to lie. It happened at Tyler. Because you're walking around in your own bubble and you just start bumping into stuff and you start looking around you. And you think, wait a minute. They didn't just get this stuff from nowhere. They got it from observing what's around them and then explaining it. And then proving it to themselves first, then proving it to our arena. And then now, okay, now that I've proven it to the arena and I've gotten the arena to look at it, then boom, you know what I mean? Now it's a theory. Well, it's a theory all along. It's just that you're just proving one aspect of it. You know what I mean? Can you simplify from doing something from nothing? So what is it going to be? How do we fuse in all of that last 15 to 20 to 30 minutes worth of conversation?
Dynamism.
Dynamism, yeah, dynamism. Or dynamism, like dynamite, dynamism.
I
Yeah.
was just getting ready to go there. Dynamite.
That's why I went there. Everybody hated me at Tyler when I started going through that. I was walking around saying it, dynamite, yeah, yeah, because it meant something then. It meant more than just a goofy young black guy being a comedian. Oh, You know, and a little bit more now. Dynamism, dynamite,
Mm-hmm.
explosion, study of movement. Yeah. Fractal space. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know me, I get excited, guys. So you know
He's
the
getting
deal.
excited. And we hope
Yeah.
you are getting excited because you are watching Let's Paint and Draw Along. Our series is on something from nothing, how to make something from nothing. And I think we're touching on
More so than just
Dinaism.
something, though, is how is now we're getting more intricate to showing people how you really pull from around you. That's the something now. Everything around you, your space in your room, a corner in your room, your cabinets, your fishbowl, your settings, how they overlap, how you're able to see through the window, to see your street. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
dynamism, fractalism. You understand the space.
Mm-hmm.
If you really look at everybody, this is how we got the idea to study movies or to get to movies.
Mm-hmm.
Because they had the spyglass already. You know what I mean? So they had these rooms where they would do all the translating of, you know, the Mona Lisa and all of that to do the drawings and all the stuff that we know them for. But then all of a sudden they would see that, you know, if you was moving your hand like this in front of that little, you know, box, that you would be projected on the canvas too as well, and your movement would be. So then
Mm-hmm.
the idea was on to be able to say motion pictures at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when you look into it, you find out some amazing things that was known all along, but nobody could really, you know, get it to go. So time has to go along. That's why they made that curve where technology moves and how man moves. And then, you know, at a certain point, you know, technology and that information of thought hits, you know, if you're into that type of stuff and everything, everybody. But if you're looking, I was talking about this space. How would you look at a space like this, the bottom of my board here, and use that as an idea for drawings?
Mm-hmm.
You see, just to get everybody on that wavelength on, you know, how we would do that. Look at it. You can look at it for actually what it is. Right? You see where I'm looking at, Nadine, or no?
Yes.
Okay. So we can look at it for actually what it is. All right. So then now we can do some different things like, okay, what if I just look at the edges of it? Then after
Right.
that, if I start looking at just the surfaces of everything, then after that, what if I just start looking at the light of everything?
Mm-hmm.
Then after that, what if I just start looking at the negative spaces of everything?
Mm-hmm.
Everything that's a negative space.
Mm-hmm.
Do I need to go on about the breakdown of space? Are we looking at it to break it down, to snatch from it?
Hmm. No, I mean that makes sense.
Yeah, well, that's what another one of those things, Picasso, and I think uh, Matisse. I think it was either Matisse or Cezanne. No, I think it was Matisse because he did the tree. I think it was Matisse. I'm not sure, but nonetheless, that's where the bull came from with Picasso. He did a
Mm-hmm.
painting of the bull, how you absolutely see the bull if you and I, all of us, was looking at a bull.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at those series of drawings, there's a breakdown that starts to happen, a simplification. He's starting to omit out certain things to get to the pure essence of what that item is made of,
Mm-hmm.
to get down to that shape that he made for the bull's head. Um, to get to this shape where he made a circle like this and just to do this.
Mm-hmm.
To get to that point, he did the actual drawing of the bull and everything else to deduce it all the way down to its most simplistic movements to say that that's a bull when a human being looks.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you look back in history and time and you look back at certain hieroglyphics and things like that, they actually have a sign that's like that, that's for bulls and stuff like that. So it makes you think, what the futurists were saying. Is
Mm-hmm.
Picasso, is he giving reference to who he's borrowing from?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the whole thing. But then once again, this is how you get to those conclusions because somebody else had to have looked at this stuff to extrapolate it down. Because why else, if I take a wavy line like this and I do this, people will start saying water and stuff like that, right? And then if
Mm-hmm.
I take it and I move it this way, they might say vapor. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? They might
Yeah.
say something hot.
Mm-hmm.
Why? That's actually what you see when you're looking at a cup of hot water.
Mm. Yeah. It's
If you look,
rising up.
yeah, if you look at hot sand, you see stuff reverberating off. Now on the hot sand, because it's level, you'll see a line doing like this. You
Mm.
know, a couple of
Mm-hmm.
lines like that fluctuating through when you're looking through if you're on the beach.
Mm.
Real hot when you look at the horizon line on the water, it really looks like that because the whole beach is hot, and wherever you're standing from, you're seeing wavy lines of the heat permeating off that sand.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that's why you're able to get to this wavy line being so important throughout any culture or any language. As soon as you do it, people have they'll guesstimate pretty much what you're saying. It's all about extrapolating from what's around you. How do you do that? By observing it, breaking it down, like how we talked about lines and shapes and forms,
Mm-hmm.
lines and surfaces. So you can
Mm-hmm.
take each one of those. You can say, okay, with our line idea, we can just do everything in a linear equation. Everything is just a line.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing flat tone. Everything's a line. You see what happens if we look at the space that way? So
Mm-hmm.
now if we let's look at it as everything's a shape.
Mm-hmm.
You see, we're not worrying about the word expo now. We're worrying about the shape of that marker there. We're worrying about
Mm-hmm.
the shape of the eraser being rectangular.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, let's strip those aspects away and let's just look at the light aspect.
Mm.
No hard edges, just look at the light and darkness and just do smudges of lights and darks, controlling values to say what this is in here.
Mm-hmm.
No lines, no linear equation, just all shading movements
Mm-hmm.
or broad charcoal movements. You see what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
Then it can be broken down again. You can look at the whole area again and break it down again
Mm-hmm.
until you get to an area where now you can see where most artists will get to a point where they enjoy a certain aspect of the observation and then they would stay there.
Mm-hmm.
You look at certain abstract artists, you know what I mean? You see that. They'll get to a certain point, you see the understanding. Now all of a sudden they go off in their own direction with it.
Mm-hmm. That's super cool. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just a super cool approach to
Mm-hmm.
creating from
Mm-hmm.
nothing.
Right. And then some people will try to say, well, oh, you trying to say that's an absolute. I say, I'm not trying to say something is absolute or infinite or not or open or closed. I'm saying that's the way it's been done thus far.
Mm-hmm.
It's not me saying it. That's the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
Because anything that you look around, you just say, okay, if you look at your bike and you look at your bike and you say what type of bike you got, okay, then now you go to the bike manufacturer, you go just find out who the bike artists are, who did the engineering drawings. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then now you would have to go deeper into that to understand, your bike.
Mm-hmm.
and why your bike is so, and on and on. And then it's with everything else. You might find out that that individual did what for your particular style of bike. They was thinking about, I know with mine, they were thinking about the urban environment for larger
Mm-hmm.
individuals.
Mm-hmm.
So they take all those things into account and they start designing a bike based upon that idea.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing you would have to do for a chair, right? For a bed, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Toilet stool, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if you think about it, you see these type of down that I'm alluding towards, you see them everywhere in every facet of your. It's just that you're not looking at it in that.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying you Nadine in particular. I'm saying, to all our viewers and everybody out there, you don't look at it in that way at first. Suen too.
Mm-hmm.
If you When I know I'm not saying that directly to you guys to say something like that. No, I'm saying in general,
Mm-hmm.
most people don't look at the world like this to be able to extrapolate from it, even more so now.
Mm-hmm.
Because even when I talk to younger kids, it's like, well, where do you get ideas from? And one kid was, bold, and I gave him that for it. He said, Google. I said, you're right, but that's kind of messed up, but that's right. You know what I mean? It's like, you're
Mm-hmm.
not. Everybody was like, Google now. And I said, no, think about it. Every time you ask yourself a question, what do haphazardly? 8 times out of 10, right? You may go to Google and say, Google, what's the best pizza in my area?
Right.
You may know, but you may put it in just to find out. So then, you know what I mean? It goes back to that idea of how do you get information? How do you get an
Mm-hmm.
idea? It's mainly based upon your experiences, and what happens around you is your experience.
Mm-hmm.
Buy a blanket, you bought that blanket for a reason. That reason is particular to you. You put it in your environment based upon you and your connection to your environment. That's why the blanket is there.
Mm-hmm.
So now, how do I extrapolate from that experience of you buying a blanket specifically for your environment? I have to get into knowing what. Do you like soft things, hard things, fuzzy things, spiky things? You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? I'll have to know what it is that, you know what I mean, from you even picking it and putting it in an environment.
Mm-hmm.
Like think about CSI and all those other type of movies where you have cop movies or military movies.
Dun, dun.
Yeah, and they go into an environment, they start looking at stuff, and they're able to surmise a person's life based upon what was brought and how it was placed in the room when they were in there.
Mm-hmm.
Why would he kill him with that trophy? Because he had animosity. Yeah,
Right.
you know, and he hated
I
him for him
had animosity.
all time. So now that's why that trophy is. Check the trophy, and they look. Ta-da! There's a little bit of blood on the bottom of the trophy.
Mm-hmm.
Then it fits the wound perfectly. Now the
Mm-hmm.
story you saw. But if we look at that, we're looking at it to say what? Something
Mm-hmm.
from nothing. These things
Mm-hmm.
around you. Even though you brought them, it still
Mm-hmm.
explains. It explains something. It tells a story.
Tells a story. You're right.
Lets you know. So that lets you know something doesn't come from nothing, and nothing doesn't come from something. It's vice versa. It's always in flux.
Mm-hmm.
Because what you're thinking is nothing, something can come out of. What are you thinking is something, nothing can come out of. I know that's fun. I loved it when I finally got it together in my own lexicon or what it is I like to do. But then
Mm-hmm.
what does that have to do with what we're doing tonight?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know I took more time to get to it, everybody, but if we don't talk about it enough, then when I do this, right, I'm gonna put the square on the board. Hold on, let me stand up. Put my square on the board. So that represents your page, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You see, I'll move the camera up so we can have a better view now. Now, unless you can see the top of that box that I got there. That whole box, Nadine?
I can. Yes.
Oh, okay, cool. And I'll leave it there like that. So then say, for instance, we're utilizing that space down that I was talking about. So I would say, okay, I got a basic shape like this I can use here, and then I can use this shape here.
Mm-hmm.
So you see, I can use the basic shape of the handles there, you see, because they're these hexagonal type of rounded shapes.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Yep, some more of that. Then I'll just let it run off on the bottom. Okay. What else can I use? Okay. Uh, there's another tab underneath there, so I can use it to break down more space, to be more dynamic, to have more broken space. I got jars back there underneath there, so I can use a jar shape. Um, the lids on it. Let's see. Got a canister down here, a linseed oil down there. Put that one on. Have something like that. The marker is here, so now I can do the marker shape. Just the shape. I'm not going to worry about the word. I'm not even going to worry about the placement of where it is. I'm just going to use the shape and see where it's at for me. The eraser itself, break it down into even more simplistic shapes and forms. See what starts to happen?
Mm-hmm.
You know, just using basic shapes, break it down some more. Then the next thing will be looking at it for the light. How could we use the light in that way? Where's the light coming from? It's coming down. Most of the shadows are obscure. So they got several light sources going on down here, but the strongest light source is coming from upper left, lower right.
Mm-hmm.
You notice that?
Yes.
Now the reason why I say that is because everything has light on the right side of it. I mean
Mm-hmm.
darkness, the right side of it. You see? Yeah. Some more things you can do, like the overlapping of shapes, and forms. If you look at the spaces in between things, you can use that as a painting tool as well.
Mm-hmm.
These are just ways on how you can look at things, especially when you're just having a free moment and you just doodling, or you just like to doodle all the time from our something from nothing category. Maybe you turn out on that now. And if you
Mm-hmm.
are, this is another way of looking around your environment to extrapolate it from it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a process. Look at things certain ways. Look at things in its entirety first. Then when you look at it in its entirety, then start breaking it down. Just look at the edges as a line, like how we're doing, as a solid shape.
Mm-hmm.
Take away the depth, the form from it. Take away all form. Just make it linear shapes. Everything that's there. A linear, I would say two-dimensional equation. You see? Then you can take it and strip that away and say, okay, I'm just going to deal with the lights and the darks, how they align.
Mm-hmm.
You see where those areas at, and I use them. Then after that, you can take all those drawings, lay those drawings down, and look at them and see what's the most interesting in those drawings. And then now you improve upon that idea with that. Still there?
Yep. I'm still here.
Okay, maybe that I thought that was maybe that was my phone. Okay.
No, I'm getting alerts.
Oh, okay, that's what I heard. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you know what I mean? You're just looking to see what you can use from the drawings. You may like one section of the drawing, so then you can explode that up and then use
Mm-hmm.
that as, that's excavation at that point. You're looking, you're surveying your drawing that you just did of the space. Or before you do the drawing, a lot of artists, if you read into them, They would survey areas or survey older drawings to look at certain things and then take these very ideas that I'm talking about with you guys and look at one of their drawings and do it as a reverse, you know. All right, it's a
Mm-hmm.
positive that got all the color and everything on there. And now let's do it as a negative thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of exploration happens that way too. You're
Mm-hmm.
exploring your environment, you're surveying your environment for possibilities of creativity, possibilities of expression, possibilities of expression that can be shared amongst other humans.
Mm-hmm.
A room is a room, isn't it? Decorations are decorations. It all
Mm-hmm.
leads into emotions. So if I do a certain drawing a certain way, you're going to feel it. Why? Because you got a space in your house that's like that possible.
Mm-hmm.
You know? What if I call this ordered confusion?
Mm. Yep, you could.
This is what I'm saying. It's
You can call it
orderly.
a lot of things.
Things are over. Yeah. You know, I can call it order.
Mm-hmm.
I can call it easel.
Mm-hmm.
I can call it workspace.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Or beneath the canvas.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a nice title.
Right. But look at how all that comes out of what? Us just fantasizing or doing simplistic drawings of an environment.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing would happen in yours too as well, everybody. That's where wrong and right doesn't exist. You know, is there
Mm-hmm.
any wrong or right way for depicting that jar that's underneath there when there's more of them there? And I can make them
Mm-hmm.
look like they're overlapping. Why? Because they're clear jars. So I can use that idea of clear or transparency or translucency, you know what I mean, throughout.
Mm-hmm.
And stuff overlapping like that. And just use that as a theme throughout. Look at that.
Wow.
Just come in and just start replicating and using the idea. How many times can I do that division? You see? Yeah. Even though I know it's not down there, I still can use it down here. This is a paint can. Like that, I can make the paint can come in front.
Mm-hmm.
Do the handle for the paint. You see? You just keep on going with that overlapping and breaking down the space. You know? Yeah. Put the clips on. Look, I can have a clip here, use a basic idea of what that clip is looking like. Yep. Top of the clip. Keep going. That's why I said look at a space in your house or in and around you, everybody. You have a space around you that you can break down like that, like how we just did with this space down there. Is it more that I could do? Yeah, there's more. There's way more intricate movements down there. You know, I can put the cord, you know, the power cord that's hanging and doing this thing. Outlet, you see. You know, they show how the plug part is over here. Just by looking at the basics, see, I might be off scene now, I'm not sure.
You're fine.
Oh, okay. And then now there's a plug underneath here, and I can have that cord coming in and around. See?
Mm-hmm.
And just use just that linear equation and that breakdown. And then just keep on drawing and keep on drawing more and more, more and more. Because then what'll happen is you can come into it and start. Say, for instance, I got like 10 of these drawings done, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I would do is lay them down and then start looking at them.
Mm-hmm.
seeing what movements are the best within,
Mm-hmm.
seeing what movements are, how would you say, more attractive than others,
Okay.
and then snatch those movements out and move those forward. Not to say that I'm going to leave other things behind, but those
Mm-hmm.
things that are doing the most, I'm going to pull out of those pieces and start doing more pieces based upon those. So then now it seems like, well, I'm not even looking at any that space anymore. Yeah, that's the
Mm-hmm.
idea.
Mm-hmm.
Because you looked at the space to get the idea. Now that you got the idea and a couple of drawings, now you start surveying yourself in your movie.
Mm-hmm.
And now when you survey yourself that way, you're taking yourself on another intricate journey within something from nothing. Because you see how you're building on it. You
Mm-hmm.
look at something, you got the nothing out. You did several
Mm-hmm.
nothings. You see? Now
Mm-hmm.
you look at those nothings to get something.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe this corner, maybe it's this corner, maybe it's just the way these two are sitting together. I don't know. But until you do a couple of them and then you start breaking it down, what movements are the most attractive in the piece, it's the same thing with colors. You start putting
Mm-hmm.
colors in this thing, you start saying to yourself, okay, which colors really resonate when I do this?
Mm-hmm.
Then when the movement and that color works together, then you got it. Then now you build upon it. Now you take that color and those movements and you expand. That's why you see
Mm-hmm.
what artists. So it's not just to do a series just to do it. It's an exploration. It's a journey. You're
Mm-hmm.
looking at something. You got nothing. Now you look at those nothings to make something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's the same way in anything. Any product. In package design that you look at, you'll have people say, okay, this is the mission. You got to make a package based upon it has to hold liquid. It should be bright. The product is a liquid that's digestible in humans. And then you have
Mm-hmm.
to take all these factors in to make a package that's going to house and be the face of that particular liquid product.
Mm-hmm.
So you would have to do, as a designer, you would have to do several adaptations, you know what I mean, before you get to your one that really sticks to you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you develop the idea based upon that after that. If it's oranges, if it's lemons, if it's, you know what I mean, what type of juice is it? If it's a made up juice, then no, you don't want to say it's made in the science. You start
Mm-hmm.
saying what the environment or what the product like Gatorade is used for. You show a sports field, you show basketball courts, you show soccer
Mm-hmm.
field. You don't show a lemon grove.
Mm-hmm. Nope.
Think about it. I'm being for real, everybody. Think about it. Now we're talking advertising. That's what advertisers do. But same thing
Mm-hmm.
painters have, same thing you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But you can see in advertising it's really real. It's like, oh, wait a minute. I don't see, you know what I mean, any, lemon orange groves or watermelon patches for Gatorade or any energy drink that you see on TV. What do you see?
Mm-hmm.
The activity. Right? Running on the beach,
Yep.
beach chair,
Action.
yeah, playing a pickup game of basketball,
Mm-hmm.
and then they'll show you their NFL or NBA or NHL or, you know what I mean, baseball person at the end of the commercial,
Mm-hmm.
but never showing you a laboratory where it was made.
Yeah.
Just think about it. It's interesting just to think about everybody on how this stuff
Mm-hmm.
is used.
Mm-hmm.
And you would have to think about the lines, the shapes, the forms, the light, the surfaces that would go into this idea. That's how they
Mm-hmm.
get the idea to go. The same way we just pulled this idea out of the air. Say, for instance, you
Mm-hmm.
just want to vegetable shapes.
Mm-hmm.
Other one, what if you just wanted to use vegetable shapes?
Mm.
You know, what's your universal? Think about it. So we can build up. Say, for instance, we just use a just talk for right now,
Mm-hmm.
right? How can we use an apple to get something to go? Okay. We can start off by saying what an apple looks like to us,
Mm-hmm.
shape of an apple. You know, where does certain components come out of the apple? Okay. Then, all right, what else could we do? Well, we could replicate the apple again, right next to it, make them look see-through to carry our other idea forward.
Mm.
You see, try to replicate it the same way again. You know, that's another way we can get into understanding this apple. Oh, why not do one where it's cut in half and we're talking about what's on the inside of that apple now?
Mm-hmm.
You see, where we see the pit, and now we see this in the middle. You know, you see there, right? How else can we see the apple? All right, we can move it down a little bit, still make it connect and touch, and cut it in half.
Mm-hmm.
We can do it again. What does the apple look like when it's split in half and split into quarters?
Mm-hmm.
You know, did you make them overlap? Yeah. What else could we do? You can make the apple look like it was eaten right here in the middle.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. You can call it a haphazard life of the apple that was eaten to the core.
Yeah.
You know, put the seed pods in there, you know. It's just a thought. What can we do with an apple? You know, oh, what
Mm-hmm.
else could, okay, we can show possibly the apple tree, you know. And so we make seed leaves, you know what I mean? And show the apples in a tree, how they would possibly grow in a tree. You know? See what's starting to happen up there?
Mm-hmm.
We call it the life of an apple, the dynamism of an apple, from nature to digestion.
Nature to digestion.
Mm-hmm. We call it a combustible.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Then we can put what? We can make the tree look like it's coming down, right? And then now we can do the roots down here. You have the roots coming out the core where the core of the apple is. You see?
Mm-hmm. Super cool.
Yeah, this can happen all day. I mean, think about the things that you may like.
Mm-hmm.
How could you break those down? You know what I mean? Say, for instance, you like grooming yourself. You like
Mm-hmm.
cutting and not cutting with like combing and doing things to your hair, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just doing it based upon that idea. Trying to give as many ideas as I can, everybody, of something from nothing. How do you extrapolate? Take your thought about hair care now, your hair care, whether it be universal, everybody, or just you. So what goes into that? Okay, you got different shapes for bottles
Mm-hmm.
that would house this stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can start off your design based upon those bottles, whether the label is on it or not. The shape of a lot of those bottles and jars that you use for your hair care products.
Mm-hmm.
You can put skin products in there too. You see? How about I take and put a comb, that
Mm-hmm.
what else goes into hair care or your hair care, everybody? Let's think about a can of hairspray. Just for hair, Aquanet, hair sheen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What about a spritz bottle, everybody, and what that looks like? Yeah, it looks like just a little bottle, little spritz bottle. There we go. What else, everybody?
Yeah. Oh well. Spritz bottle. Oh, that's a nice spritz bottle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Think about the basic shape of it. What does a spritz bottle look like? What does a can of hairspray look like? What does a can
Afro sheen.
Yeah. What does the can look like with the cap on? And then what does
Mm-hmm.
it look like when the cap is off of it? You know?
Mm-hmm.
It almost looks like a what? A spray paint can.
Mm-hmm.
Nozzle cap and everything in it. See? What else we got? We can put a brush. Nice stiff brush. Yeah. There you go. What else for hair?
Um, Clippers.
Okay. So then I would just do a clipper shape like so.
Mm-hmm.
Inside here like so, and then do the cord thing coming right off of it. Yep, there you go. And then put the plug on the bottom of that thing. And you have it. Using the overlap idea. See the clippers in there?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Keep on using the additive idea. Add it over top again. Fill in more space. What else could you put in? Could you put in another pair of clippers facing another way? Could you put in another spritz bottle turned upside down? How
Mm-hmm.
about a or grease or lube or shea butter or cocoa
Mm-hmm.
butter, aloe vera gel or stiffening gel or you
Mm-hmm.
know you got the spray can, the aerosol cans up there for the hairspray or sheen. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Or hey, you might as well throw some perfume in there. Little oil bottles, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Get to smell good on. Put some more in there this way, properly. You know? Yeah. See how easy that starts to get?
Yeah. It's just starting to happen.
Right. That's what happens when you just go with something. The something
Mm-hmm.
was hair care, hair products, my personal
Mm-hmm.
or universal.
Mm-hmm.
Now, next after that, you got to start thinking what? What did those things look like?
Mm-hmm.
Well, not what they look like. What are they first? Then what do they
Mm-hmm.
look like?
Mm-hmm.
And then the decision for us right now is to make them a two-dimensional shape
Mm-hmm.
or a flattened out hollow shape, almost like a silhouette. That's what we started doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You get what I'm saying, everybody? Hey,
Oh
Beans.
yeah.
How do you get those type of ideas to go? Yeah, look at that. See, now I can bring it up, put it on this normal level now. Because we transition, we showed you how to use a space that's around you. That means an actual space that you live in. How do you look
Mm-hmm.
at your actual space you live in? Well, when I was doing this, when I went to art school, high school, they said that you had to make your own viewfinder and stuff until you got to the point where you can use your hands like this to
Right.
bracket off an area. Well, you can use your phone or your tablet now, everybody. And what I would say is just take pictures or start looking at the way things are, how would you say, impactful or dominant, you know what I mean, or a lot of
Mm-hmm.
something, you know.
Mm-hmm.
What does all that additive stuff look like? Like when you're looking through a fence,
Mm-hmm.
that would be dynamism, how that fence is breaking up space and then how that space is breaking up even more based upon the things that you're seeing from that point of view.
Mm-hmm.
So come on, everybody, you can try that. These are very simple ways on finding ideas and exploring your environment to get to certain thoughts. You know, say for instance, you're like, I have a young lady that has ambitions of wanting to do her own book, and she's taking classes with me. So that's the
Mm-hmm.
mission here to look around to start understanding how this world is put together, so that when you start doing your own children's book, you have an understanding on how to make a space for them to ponder on based upon your writing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's very important to understand those type of movements because once you got it, I mean, you won't regret it. Put it to you that way. You won't regret
Mm-hmm.
it. Get it, and then it'll be the best thing ever because all your stuff is going to be a little bit more connective. It's going to have a little bit more connective juice to it. Why? Because it's absolutely losing a reference point.
Mm-hmm.
Even if that reference point is made up to be a fantasy, you still are seeing it in your mind's eye based upon where you live. Like if I'm doing a whole aquatic scene, that means that I almost got a fishbowl or something near me, or almost like swimming underneath water, so that I
Mm-hmm.
can make me a whole aquatic scene, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
I mean, how did we get to SpongeBob?
Yeah. How do you get to SpongeBob? For sure.
See what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
How do we get Aquaman?
Mm-hmm.
And until we find Atlantis, how do we get the idea of Atlantis?
Right.
You have to ask.
Atlantis.
Yeah, but you just have to ask yourself these type of things. Were these things based upon observations and extrapolations from those observations?
Mm.
I believe so. Can
Yeah,
that
why
be?
not?
Yeah, can that be contested? Yeah, it can. But
Mm-hmm.
theory is absolute. We can go throughout the world art history at this point. You know what I mean, and look
Mm-hmm.
through and you'll see that somebody was sitting down and looking around them to be able to get their ideas to go
Right.
and to paint the way they paint, or to do the things that they're able to do, sculpting or architectural wise, especially in
Mm-hmm.
and package design. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yep. you know
Wow.
think about it. What did Tesla do to be able to find the electricity the way that he was finding it?
369.
Yeah, 369, and then looking around him though to find
Right.
people. You know
Yep.
what I mean? To find that
For
shoe
sure.
to,
For sure.
you know what I mean, and all these other sounds and things. What did these artists do back then? They would sit outside. I read about certain, orchestra masters that would just sit outside and listen to the cacophony or the
Yeah.
symphony of nature, just listening
Yeah.
to natural warning sounds.
Isn't that something? I mean, it's beautiful too.
But
I
then
mean,
think
actually.
about jazz, though. Think
Mm.
about when jazz came in. What did jazz listen to? The offbeat rhythm of man in the environment.
Right.
A car driving over a manhole,
Oh
a
yeah.
couple of cars driving over a manhole, making a
Or a
certain
metal
rhythm.
plate. Or a metal
There,
plate, and it's like dum dum
there
dum
you
dum
go. You got
dum
it.
dum
You got it.
dum dum.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Sorry. Sorry, folks.
No, you're good, because that's what really happens. Everybody don't think that happens that way. Somebody's walking around and you know what I mean. You hear it or you see it or you
Mm-hmm.
felt it or you touched it, and then now that spawns thought. That spawns
Mm-hmm.
a creative idea, and now you see why we have all these things we have in our universe.
How to spawn thought.
Yeah. How do you
I
do
like
it?
that.
Yeah. How do you do it? You do it every day. Think about it. You may not have enough to, how would you say, enough rice for a dinner.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, oh my God, I don't have enough time to run out to the store to get more rice. Well, in this
Mm-hmm.
new era, you would just order it from a Chinese restaurant or something to have it sent to the house. Understand? Well, back in the day,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? Before this humbling era of being able to have this connectivity, you would have to
Mm-hmm.
do what? You would have to figure out how to stretch or how to make this work.
Mm-hmm.
So then you would start to make what? Other dishes that would stretch out the meal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or add something in with some bread, right? Or add something in with, you know what I mean? Something that's going to be like,
Put some
look like a
gravy
lot.
up in there.
Right. That's going to look like it's a lot when really it's not a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But it gives the illusion like it's a lot. Yeah, now you can see why meals were made the way they were made.
Mm-hmm.
Could you
Mm-hmm.
imagine being on a prairie train and food is getting short and you're the cook?
And you're like, how do we make this stretch? You know?
You know what I'm saying? Because it's not going to look right.
Right. We don't have
If I,
enough rice. So then
right,
they grind up the rice
and make something out of the
and
rice,
make something out of the rice. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
like a
Mm-hmm.
patty, or you know what I mean, some
Mm-hmm.
type of bread. You know what I mean? Some type
Mm-hmm.
of dough to put something else in.
Or make soup, kanji soup. Kanji
Yeah,
soup
or
is made from the rice, old
I
rice.
know
Well,
what you're saying, but I'm keeping it Western. You make
okay, keep
drop
it a Western.
you drop biscuits and dumpling.
Oh, I was just getting ready to say like chicken and dumplings. My
Right,
granddaddy Joe made some mean chicken and dumplings.
right. And why was those dumplings put in that chicken and dumpling?
because it was needed to stretch the food, I think.
To make it seem like it's more than what it
And it's
is.
more than what it is. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, you can overwhelm it sometimes, but then sometimes you're gonna have to put them dumplings in there. Why? Because you may not have enough chicken.
Right. And that'll fill you up.
Yeah, it'll fill you up, man. Especially give you the flavor noise you want. But then think about why it was made.
Mm-hmm. That's a good question.
You know, it was made for. I'm telling you, it was made for that reason right there, to fill it. You know what I mean? To make it a filler, because you're seeing how, all right, my provisions are going low.
Mm-hmm.
I got to keep everybody thinking they're getting full.
It was originated during the Great Depression
There you go. You see what I'm saying?
as
You
a
see what
way
I'm
to stretch chicken by patting it out with boiled
saying?
biscuit dough.
Okay.
This is from AI on Google because
Yes, but what I'm
I'm going to source the source.
saying, but you see what we're saying? It was out of circumstance. You're seeing things going low. What happens? I got to make
Right.
this work. What is this that
Nope.
you make? We're gonna make something called I'm gonna call it a dumpling.
Right.
Doughy bread, wet bread inside a soup.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Man, that's not enough, man. They're not gonna get full off of that. We don't have no
Yep.
potatoes.
If we don't have Jesus to like
You know what I mean?
make wine out of water
Right.
and more
What about no
fish.
potatoes, right? No potatoes, no extra meat. Nah, you only got what's left.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're seeing how some of these things are made from something from nothing type of thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what did we just do with this? We looked at it, we said, look, okay, an idea, hair and hair care products, whether it be personal or universal.
Mm-hmm.
What's next? Spritz bottles, you know what I mean? Clippers,
Spritz.
spray cans.
Mm-hmm.
You can put the cap down there. Yeah, that's another thing we can do. I can put the cap from the spray cans all over the place and start to fill up areas like in here. Just put a cap right in there.
I think it's got a weird thing.
You know, turn the cap to the side. But as
Mm-hmm.
you see what I'm saying? Just the shape
Mm-hmm.
itself.
Where's that?
See all those spaces that's working up in there. You know,
Mm-hmm.
could we put a comb? Let's put another comb, a barber comb. You know, one of those combs that have the teeth that starts to go down this way,
Mm-hmm.
starts thinner and thinner and thinner until like you have those small teeth. I got one of those to do my beard and stuff.
Oh, okay, cool.
It's like a rat tail comb, I think they call it too as well.
Mm-hmm.
For braiding and stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah. What else? If you think about it, what else goes into the hair? You know, then you can start thinking, if I had the watercolors and I did this on paper, then you start thinking, well, what colors go into hair care?
Mm-hmm.
You know, could we use the color of hair? Yeah, that's a whole gamut of colors then, wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we can go through the whole rainbow of it. Then, you know, there is no wrong. I like to reveal to everybody that there is no wrong in that situation. Then there's only what is. What was
Mm-hmm.
your experience with hair care products?
Mm-hmm.
You know, especially if you want to start putting the labels there. Okay, what labels was in your cabinet, on your
Right.
dresser? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
On your, what do they call that for women in the bathroom?
Vanity. Well, no.
Yeah, there you go, vanity area. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I
Mm-hmm.
meant right there, the vanity, because that's where you would have the mirrors and you would have all this other stuff going. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
All about hair care and you know what I mean, facial stuff, creams and all that. If you ever go into somebody's house, and it's women there, you can go and you can see all these different products that I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Then you can have fun. You can look at it and say, well, in a younger person's house, what would be there? You see how you can change this up?
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you were on the planet in the 60s, what would be in your cabinet as far as hair
Yeah.
care is concerned? What type
Mm-hmm.
of comb, what styles of combs, you see what I mean, compared to
Mm-hmm.
now. And it can
Mm-hmm.
all just be done just like this, everybody. Yeah, and I won't get mad if somebody steals the idea and do a bunch of paintings on it. Go for it.
Mm-hmm. We
Because
know you watched.
yeah, we know you watch, but then I'm under the belief that we have to start doing things like that. And it goes back to what I was alluding towards earlier, that during the time and space and place reference that you're in, what was the
Mm-hmm.
importance of things in your era where you was at?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How did you express them? Well, you could express it this way. You can say, okay, I'm going to look at the different time periods, 10-year periods on what hair care products look like
Mm-hmm.
and do silhouette drawings based upon how those products look, whether they look the same from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000, or to show
Mm-hmm.
all their differences. Then I can go
Mm-hmm.
into it and show my cultural differences, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, to think about it. We got a whole bunch of different nationals in the country now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just not Negroid hair and it's just not European based hair no more. It's like a full gambit. Everything is here
Right.
now.
Everything's here.
Then what type of, would it be a different pair of clippers for one coil to another? Could you show the coils of those hairs and the products that would be used on those hairs? That's not me
Mm-hmm.
saying it. That's us thinking about what happens in these environments based upon hair care. Because I know if I look in my cabinet, we might have shea butter the same or cocoa butter the same, but then other products not going to be the same, Nadine.
I feel you.
You know, if I go to Suan's, I would just say cabinet. There may be some similar things in there as far as toothpaste and things like that, but certain hair care products won't be the same.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Not unless we're all naturalists and we're just thinking about water, some type of soap, and that's it. Now, if you set up like that, then yeah, there's similarities there.
Right.
But if you go into people's homes and go and look, you'll see, no, it's not the same. Somebody's got Dove over here, and somebody's got Irish Spring over here. You know,
That's funny. Mm-hmm.
this has a homemade looking one. This one has, the small little soaps that they stole from the hotel. Okay. You see what I'm saying? I'm just a realist at that point. When you start looking, you want to do a series of paintings. And you're looking at an
Mm-hmm.
idea, fluff out an idea or something, look at it, how to extrapolate from it, how to take it a little bit further. Especially if you're talking
Mm-hmm.
about a linear equation like how I'm talking about. Yeah, based upon
Mm-hmm.
the open, based upon that type of movement place. And how do we tie the futurists and all that good stuff in there? Is because we're talking about the different times and periods and spaces that it goes in. Does
Mm-hmm.
that spritz bottle look the same now as it did in the 50s? Would
No.
you use a spritz bottle at home in the 50s?
Um. It might have been more like uh
A wet,
copper.
yeah. But then would we even use a spritz bottle at home though? This is what I'm saying, at home.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can find spritz bottles in people's houses.
Mm-hmm.
Go back in time and you may see a point where, dang, no, I don't see a spritz bottle.
Mm-hmm.
I only would see that where? In a salon. And then how
Right.
far back in the salon do you really see that? During the
Right.
Harlem Renaissance, did we see it back?
No, I don't think so.
This is what I'm saying. These are all the interesting things that we can involve something from nothing thought from
Mm-hmm.
in pulling out something like this.
Mm-hmm.
And this is with anything. Think about it, you know. Even the toilet or the urinal, do they look the same as what they looked like in the early 1900s when Duchamp used the urinal to
Nope.
wall? You see what I'm saying?
But you could do a whole thing on different kinds of urinals for sure.
Yeah. Think about bottles and milk containers. It can
Oh
go
yeah,
on.
remember it was all glass and
Yeah, and one particular shape, and that was it. Now, how many different shapes for milk bottles and milk jars and
mm-hmm,
plastic jars do we have?
mm-hmm,
Lots of them. Is it worthy of having a creative session over? I think so.
mm-hmm,
But that's once again, that's for people to look at what culture is at that point,
mm-hmm,
and then describing these things based upon the products in the era that you're in.
mm-hmm.
Think about it. The further you go back in time, the less the product machinery you have.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the pictures on the end result, you have to question, well, which one was more pristine, more orderly?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you look at some of those black and white, they look better than most of the pictures that people are taking now.
Yeah.
And that's back with no filter now, you know what I mean? And very little
Mm-hmm.
augmentation of the film.
Mm-hmm.
So these are different things you can look at too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you look at some of the pictures of people today, like they have to use a couple of filters. Why? Because it's imperfections on the skin.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just bring it up things on how you can look and extrapolate from things, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And you can make a statement based upon that.
Mm-hmm.
What about the things that are in people's pockets and bags? Could you do that one?
Oh yeah.
Or you can see the differences in that in 10 or 20
Mm-hmm.
years. You know, heck, you might not even see keys in people's pockets no more come soon
Right.
because it's just going to be a little box with a button on
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yeah, I mean, remember the days of the pager
Yeah, this is what I'm
and the
saying.
phone, and you see
Cell
the how the phone has changed. There's just so many different things, you know.
phone was a briefcase.
Mm-hmm. It
And
sure
now
was.
that briefcase is now down to something that can go into the palm of the hand. Now it's gotten even so small now to now it's on glasses. Next is going to be in a tooth. I'm telling you, somebody going to have a phone in their tooth in their mouth.
Ooh, in the tooth.
Yeah,
Ooh.
I'm telling you, it's coming. It's coming. Somebody's going to do it. Somebody's going to have a phone in their mouth. They're just going to have to be able to bite down a certain way or move their jaw a certain way, and you're going to be able to talk.
Might as well
Yep.
just put it in the brain.
Well, no,
Elon Musk.
that's the ultimate one. But to
Mm-hmm.
get you to buy into that, you're gonna have to get you to, you know what I mean, buy into it a little bit. So how do you get them to buy into a little bit? Make it smaller and smaller and smaller to whereas there's no need for me to carry it in my hand no more.
Mm-hmm.
Now it has to be what? Placed somewhere. Okay, now it could be a button. Now it could be, you know what I mean? We got
Yeah.
certain ones that look like the Star Trek drones or like
Yep.
communicator.
Beam me
Beam me
up.
up. Yep,
Yep.
we got phones and stuff like that and earplugs and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Now the next part is to get you to buy into the one going into the head. Oh, you don't like that one?
Mm-hmm.
All right, now we got to give it to you another way. The tooth,
Mm-hmm.
oral. You know what I mean? Has to be, or another adaptation on the glasses, or another adaptation on an ear device
Yeah.
to groom you. You know what I mean? To
Mm-hmm.
get you ready for everybody wanting to have the chip in the head.
Yep.
Yeah, that's another conversation. But you see how those conversations come about, everybody, from these
Yep.
something, nothing, you know, live demos that we do and draw alongs that we do.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, yeah.
There
Just to
you
move
go.
so you can really see the idea. So all we did was take the ideas of the everyday. How would you groom yourself? Your hair care products, and then Now we would draw it down, or well, you can say your facial too, because you use your clippers to groom your ears.
Mm-hmm.
I know I have a couple of clippers that I use to groom my little facial hairs and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's why that shape was so, familiar to me to put down so fast.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. The things that you use the most, you should be able to draw out faster because you have a different connection to it.
Right.
You know? Yeah. And those things you don't have that much experience with, it may not look right at first. You just may have to do it again and again and again. And
Mm-hmm.
once the challenge is, everybody do about 5 of these and then sit them down and then look at all 5 and then extrapolate from those 5 to do your next 5.
Mm-hmm.
Don't look at nothing else but the first 5 that you did. Do the
Mm-hmm.
first 5. You're no longer looking at items in your world no more. Now you're looking at what you discovered about the world around you. True excavation.
Mm-hmm.
You surveyed the environment, you took down these things. Now you're going to look at these items that you took down more so than going back to look at the sources. Nope. You're going to look at your experiences with those sources.
Mm-hmm.
Then derive something from your sources.
Right.
If it's the same thing, then keep it going. There's nothing wrong with that. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? I'm not trying to jam everybody up. No, if the same thing flows, then let it flow. But if you look at all 5 that you've done, and there's no particular reason why I'm picking 5. I just said 5. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And you look at those 5, and then you see what are the best highlights of those 5 to
Mm-hmm.
you when you're looking at them, not to nobody else, to you. Then whatever stands out in each one of those, you borrow from each one of those pieces to do the next piece.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't Why not use some of the ideas we talked about turning the item, turning your page, and turning your format of your page, and
Mm-hmm.
replicate again over top of it once again till you get to a point where you're saying that's enough. You see, because there's still always a question of what's enough. Is enough enough?
Mm-hmm.
You never know. To each person, it's something particular when we're working the way we're talking about work. It's impulsive.
Mm-hmm.
So you're moving, you're doing things, or you're leaving it where it's at, and you're just moving around it, adding things on. Or you
Mm-hmm.
laid it down on the floor and you're adding things onto it that way.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing it, you're just adding a little bit at a time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, could you? How would you say? Do subtraction? Yeah, you can erase areas away if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
Cover areas up if you want to. That's another idea. But mainly tonight was all about the additive.
Mm-hmm.
And how did we take, snatch from around us to, how would you say, find an idea or thought, and then how to replicate off of
Mm-hmm.
that thought. And if you think about it once again from our conversation earlier, it's something that we all do every day. You do this
Yep.
you do it in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Like we said earlier, say for instance, you didn't have enough hot dogs. I mean, you got a
Yeah.
whole bunch of fun, but you ain't got enough hot dogs. Well, wait a minute, you got a couple of cans of beans. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
Or
How
pork
you gonna
beans.
make it happen?
Right. So now you're gonna make beans and franks.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the only way you're gonna be able to feed all those kids if you came up short on frankfurters.
Right.
That's the only way everybody's gonna be happy with pork and beans or vegan pork and beans. You know what I mean? With the hot dogs and onions in it, man. So that
Mm-hmm.
means you got 4 hot dogs and you got 6 kids. Everybody's gonna get some hot dogs and some beans, maybe
Right.
over.
Yep.
And everybody would be happy off of 4 hot dogs cut up.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an idea of something from nothing. You know what I mean? I'm sure people have other ones out there that they have done that in the kitchen too as well. Just think
Mhm.
about those moments. That's something from nothing. You're looking
Mhm.
at what's around you, you're utilizing that and that alone. Then after you find something, now you're replicating off of that. So
Mhm.
in other words, we looked at the spaces in between the easel that I have down here on the bottom. We did a drawing of that. We did a
Mhm.
drawing of what is an apple or your favorite thing, you see?
Mhm.
And you can think about it that way of doing a drawing of that. Then now we had another drawing that we did just now, just based upon what? Hair care items, whether it's
Mhm.
personal or universal.
Mhm.
You see? That was what, like 4 different ideas?
One, two.
Mhm.
I got three.
That's
I
cool.
got. I think. Yeah.
You start
I
looking at it
got.
like everybody, then you can look at it from the same idea with color. And maybe one day we'll look at it from nothing in a color idea too as well, how you could transition through color and use color real fast to get an idea to go, you know,
Mhm.
in the format to do them smaller. So that now when you go bigger, you can plan it out a little bit.
Mhm.
But the main thing is to, really get your idea out and going. Yeah.
For sure.
Yep, to put nowhere, which is the something, which is your
Mhm.
environment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Belief in
Well, here is my. I don't know if I'm gonna try to do this.
You got to unpin me. I don't see you.
Oh, sorry.
There you go. Yeah.
That's one.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
the
it's
Apple
out of.
one.
Yeah, the Apple one.
hmm
Let's see.
hmm
Trying to get it in focus here.
Yeah. But now that you have it like that, then now you can play with it with the color aspect too, or just keep them in tonal values of gray from white to black, just grays in
Mm-hmm.
between
Yeah.
shadows, or whatever the case may be, until you think about what colors you want to put in there, a
Mm-hmm.
full palette or a limited palette.
Yeah. Yes. That's a
Repetition.
morning.
Yeah, and that's what becomes the hard part is the part of person replicate,
Mm-hmm.
and then that's what they be wanting you to get the grants for and the fellowships and stuff like that. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. If you want to go that route,
hmm You just
Don
gotta
can help you get there.
yeah, I gotta help
Yeah.
myself too, there too as
Yeah.
well. So yeah,
Right.
why not?
Yeah.
Get more grants, more fellowships and stuff, but you have to be able to understand what it is that you're trying to express and trying to get backing for. That's a whole
Mm-hmm.
nother conversation. But it all
Mm-hmm.
leads into is with stuff like this. You know what I mean?
Right. Yep. Definitely. Definitely. Wow,
Yeah.
Don, this was fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. This is not recreational fun. This was actually a fun exploration.
It's
Definitely.
not recreation, Nadine. It's
I
not
said
like
it's not a recreation. I said it's
it,
not fun like recreation. I'm saying it
it
was a
is,
fun exploration.
but I'm saying it is. It's
It
still
is?
yeah, because you can take this out. You know how many classes I've taught with kids,
Oh, okay.
and you're able to make them look into their world. So it's still
Mm-hmm.
recreation, but it's recreation with purpose
Okay. Recreation with purpose.
to help you understand your world using art
Mm-hmm.
as an alternative to a behavioral situation. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
that is.
Okay. Well, there you have it.
Yeah,
There you have it.
yeah.
Don.
Recreation when you. Yeah, I'm
Mhm.
still here.
Yeah, go ahead. You said recreation when you have.
Yeah, a lot of times recreation is just not do nothing. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Work.
Mm-hmm.
To do a happy piece is to be happy with a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
not just to fill space.
Mm-hmm.
That's where
Yeah.
I think the idea of recreation kind of confused.
Okay.
They use the recreation idea to say, okay, I'm going to preoccupy space rather than hand off a thought or idea or share an idea or thought.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's why a lot of the managers had an issue with me. They're like, no, you just don't do art just for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
Everything has a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, everything. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
What if the reason is just to have fun? Then okay, what type of fun are we talking about when we're talking about art then?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because it still has an explanation and a reason to be able
Mm-hmm.
to be expounded upon about being fun. Because what
Mm-hmm.
is fun?
What is fun?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
My fun might not be your fun. Your fun might
Mm-hmm.
not be my fun.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? My fun may be playing tops or playing skelly, as we would call it in New York. You
Mm-hmm.
might be like, ew, that's crazy. That's boring. I like handball. Handball is way
Right.
better. I'm like, you crazy? Tops is where you want to be at. You'd be like, nah, handball, man. That's a little kid
Mm-hmm.
game. No, that's a barbarian game, handball. You see, we can go back and forth.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, what is fun then? What is
Mm-hmm.
recreation then?
Mm-hmm.
What is the therapy? What is the actual experience then?
Mm-hmm.
It still always boils back to, the human being needs it in order to move forward.
True. True.
And I'll land the plane there.
He's landing the plane, y'all. And let's paint and draw along, where
Yeah.
we make something from nothing or nothing into something.
Right.
Aha! And we do
Mhm.
it in a very in a with a formula of following line, shape, form, light, and surface as ideas or approaches, wouldn't you say?
So you
I know.
asking me?
Yeah, silence.
When I came,
Silence.
I bring the theory out. I have
Yes.
no repulsions about it.
Yes.
I live my life by it. That's why I'm sharing it.
Yes. And
I
we
understand. I don't need to, answer it. I
mhm.
live by it. You can
He
see it.
lives by it. He
There
lives
it is.
by it. Yeah, there you go.
I shape, form, light, and surface. Yeah.
Yeah. So and this is this just graphite or do we have wash or what's going on here?
Paper, which is going to be chalk and charcoal on tone paper.
Mm-hmm.
Something I'm known for. People
Mm-hmm.
enjoy charcoal and chalk drawings. They like the emotions I'm able to pull off of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's why we do them, and we keep on carrying them forward because that's the response that I've gotten from the crowd. The crowd says, I
Mm-hmm.
like that. Do it again. And you do it again and again, and you establish a name for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you have any inquiries on this one yet?
I've always get inquiries. Who's going to really work through them? Like, oh, hold on. Like, I have something here that I have to show because it's direct with you. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? To show that idea. Yeah. Like, watch this. You remember these paintings, baby?
Yeah, the ones that I still have to come by and pick up.
Yeah. Yeah. See. Yeah. Yeah.
That one.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. They're waiting for me, y'all.
Oh, they've been waiting for quite some
They've
time.
been waiting a while. I have to
Yeah.
get back on this. I saw those and I was just like, wow, that's super cool. I gotta get my hands on them, and I haven't got my hands on them. I gotta get my
Yeah.
hands on them. Yes.
Yeah. And was
Yeah.
worried about me getting rid of them. I'm gonna get rid of somebody else's work, man.
Yeah. I gotta get my life together.
My thing is, I don't want to let them get damaged. Sometimes they'll be in my studio and a hole will get poked through because I'm moving stuff around and I don't notice
Uh-oh.
in it.
Let me get over there before the year is out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, buddy. Too
Yeah.
much. Okay. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I
but
gotta
it
get
all
over there.
looking when they inquire, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And then that's when, sometimes you have to wait it out. Sometimes like deals where people want one done of a family member or them themselves and things like that. You
Mm-hmm.
know, will I have to start advertising that? Possibly so for the new year. You
Mm-hmm.
know, those
Mm-hmm.
that may be the issue too with it. So,
Mm-hmm.
but the main thing is you just got to keep what you're known for. You know what I mean? Going.
Mm-hmm.
People see them, they go, "Oh, I know what work that is," and they'll look for the name. Go, "Yeah, I knew it was his work." And
Mm-hmm.
cool. But you still, you're bringing it to the crowd, you're simplifying, you're doing all the things we're talking about, the line shape
Mm-hmm.
going. I figured out those components for me, and
Mm-hmm.
just keep on working.
Mm-hmm.
Just that now you can share a little bit more easier now.
Yeah.
You know, and that's all it is. Because the other theorem is you wouldn't share until you made an absolute living by it.
Mm-hmm.
You can share to get the living opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Different world we're living in. That's
Yes, it
all.
is. Definitely is.
All right.
Wow, well done. This was awesome. It's now like 8:21, and we appreciate you joining us. And if you join us in the replay, definitely leave a comment, say hi, let us know where you're from, and if you got anything out of this, share what it was that you liked about what we spoke about today. And so we hope to hear from you, and we thank you for all that you do supporting uh, the notion of getting people to create, and because we are about keeping you creating, and that's why we're here. So with that, Don, what do we always say to them? We clap it up, and we say, keep creating, everybody, keep creating. Take care of yourself and have a great start of your week, and see if you can knock out 5 of these. I'm telling you, here's another one. There you go. 5 of these. There you go. Go for it. I got the blur in the background, so that's why it's not really tight. Anyway, thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you again real soon. Peace.